What
David,
up, dudes?
Yo,
what's happening, man?
Man, what I'm excited about is continuing to have Stephen Heptig on. He recently did a podcast with his mom on his mom's podcast about financial independence. Amazing. Go give it a listen. Incredible interview. Stephen did a great job. But what I love is that I kind of saw that it also as like almost like an interview, right? Like an on-air interview, not an interview, an obvious interview from the podcast code, but for an interview for a future co-host, because we've been looking collectively at trying to get Stu off the podcast for a while now. And I think Steven is absolutely phenomenal. And so I think there's a very natural Stu, I'm curious on your thoughts, but a
You're,
very
you're gonna bring
natural.
this. You're gonna bring this while we're recording for an episode.
Oh, dude, I assumed it was a natural outflow of your thought process too. This is not
No,
now it's awkward. Now
yeah,
it's totally awkward.
am
dude.
I interviewing for a new work wife?
Hmm. So, to all our guests, I'm so sorry for this awkward silence and topic. Stu, I apologize. I totally thought we were on the same page. We didn't talk about it, but I
No,
just thought we
man.
were on
I
the same page.
I love doing the podcast. That I want to continue to do the podcast.
Oh, yeah. So, wow. Well, I love you,
Oh,
and
yeah.
hopefully this doesn't come between us and episode 260, whatever we're on, or
We don't
270,
even know
whatever.
what we're on.
I don't, because
Do you
that's
even
a
listen
role
to
that
our
you also
podcast? Do you like listen to our episodes
love it.
after they air?
No, because your voice drives me crazy. I'm totally joking. I do.
Steven, do you
I
listen to our
love them.
podcast?
Yes, but on 2x so that it minimizes the time I have to listen to your voices.
God,
And
guys are rough
one
today.
omission that that Stephen did, he forgot to mention that the Kinetic Man podcast was one of his favorite resources at the end of his current interview, and we forgive him for that, and it's fine because it
I'll
would have
mention
been
it
out
here.
of context.
The Kinetic Man is one of my favorite podcasts, and you should check it out.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's good. Hey, before we get into the topic that we're going to discuss, which is community, and in community, at least for me, inherent in community is laughter, which is why I love Stu, because there's lots of laughter, usually one directional. But I'm just curious. You guys are both dads. We often talk about modeling, right? We as fathers model ideally what our values are and what right looks like, at least in the context of our family. And I'm curious if you guys so my kids had come home, they're doing all this your mom stuff, right? Yeah, mom, and they say it like that, and it's ridiculous. But I have noticed, now that I'm conscious of it, how often like my kids will be like, hey dad, are we gonna what's for dinner? And I'm like, oh, or not what's for dinner, but like what who's making dinner? I'm like, Joe. I'm like, dad, who's Joe? I'm like, Joe Mama, or like things, the Joe Mama jokes, or your mom. I've noticed how much I model that behavior for my children, and I'm just trying to analyze: should I be judging myself harshly, or is it cool? Is it appropriate? Is it funny?
I think you should judge yourself harshly. I mean, I think you're terrible.
Mm.
That's just a terrible thing to do as a father.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I
Steven?
don't ever do anything like that.
If you're asking whether or not acting like an adolescent child is out of character for you, I would say no.
No.
So
No, that's not the question. That's not the question. No, that is not that isn't obvious. The question is it inappropriate within the context of leading my household as a grown adolescent child? It's an important question. We don't have to answer it here. I don't want to take your time. But
I'll tell
Stu,
you that
don't
my
judge,
wife. Oh, no, I'm not judging. I'll tell you that
because
my
there's
wife gets
farts
mad
that
at
happen in
me.
your house.
My wife gets mad at me daily for things that I do. I don't do your mama jokes, but I fart
Yeah,
a
a
lot.
lot.
I pick my nose still as a 43-year-old man.
Wow.
I know
Sometimes
you guys
sometimes
you
I'm
guys
getting
mentioned
real.
Bluey the other day, which I will admit here to everyone that Bluey is one of my favorite TV shows.
Dude, I love Bluey.
It's amazing. But there was an episode recently that was all about farting, and it showed a little clip of like the dad saying "pull my finger" in an elevator, and the rest of the family being horrified, which did make me laugh quite a lot.
I'm getting pretty bad because I fart in front of my neighbor's kids too, and
Oh, dude,
my neighbor's kids
don't
think
call
it's
me.
hilarious.
Don't
But
call me until the memory you create for an interfamily gathering is you lighting a fart on fire.
lighting a
Okay.
fire on fire, yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't
because
done
that is
that. I have
something
not gone that far.
that my friends' kids are like, dude, and there's teenagers in there that are like, dude, can you do that again? Like when we see them. Now the
Speaking of
reason
family gatherings,
family gatherings, but the reason we bring this up, one, we're getting real talk. But like why, it's interesting that a lot of conversations we're having within the mastermind is very much around being real, right? And Steven's going to share a story that I'm like, wow, dude, like let's seriously consider from a very real perspective if we are these people and why we're these people. Because when you talk about these things, the reality sometimes sounds so ridiculous that it's hard to believe that it's real, but it's like, wow, that is what we do, as men. And the reasons, by one of the things we dig into in the mastermind is like, why let's be very intentional with what we do, and let's ask very difficult questions on why we do the things that we currently do. We're just talking intimacy with one of the tribes. I'm like, look, guys, assess it. If it's there, it's there, and assess it. Be honest with yourself. Step one, be honest. And then you get to choose, you have to choose, is it important enough for you to do something about? Is it important enough for you to action? Is community, we talk about community, is knowing your neighbor something truly important to you? Like I love when new people move in, being a guy or the family that takes cookies over there or whatever, right? Going over the neighbor and being like, hey, I just met a new neighbor the other day. And I don't know if people are going over and introducing themselves to them, right? But that's what we talk about community and the reality of community. Everybody, I'm pretty sure most people you ask, hey, is community important to you? They're gonna be like, yeah. Oh, cool. Do you know your neighbors? No clue. Why would I know them? Well, there's a dichotomy there, right? And so this very interesting conversation about community, it comes up often, and it was really one of the founding principles of why we even started this mastermind, because we were seeing dudes in particular not living in community. And it's just a very, very interesting and extremely sad condition that we currently find ourselves in.
Yeah, I had an interesting example of that the other day. I one of the things we talk about here with our men is we've used this example several times. Like you're the dad standing on the playground, and there's every other dad standing on the playground, each of you hoping that you find more friends, but nobody going over and talking about it, and sometimes you just have to be the one to do that. And so my wife and I had this conversation recently where we acknowledged, like, we don't have as many friends that are local to us anymore that as we want. We need to build that. And it's easy to just be like, well, okay, great, so let's move on with life. But I the other day I said, no, like let's do something about this. So we recently moved into our new house. We've lived here about a year and a half. Both of our neighbors, we are so blessed. Both of our neighbors are amazing, but they sort of keep to themselves. One of them is like my parents' age, and then on the other side is a couple that's a little bit older. They're probably 10 years older than I am, and they have kids that are like early college, and they're 20s and late teens. So I love to smoke, so I was cooking a pork shoulder. If you smoke pulled pork, you know that they come in these huge amounts, right? And so, love me some Costco pork butt, and yelled over the fence the other day. I was like, "Hey, do you guys want to come have dinner with us Saturday night? We're going to smoke this pork butt." And to my surprise, they actually said yes, because they've turned us down several times. I was like, "Oh, sweet." So woke up early that morning, threw the pork shoulder on, and the other side neighbor, right, he also smokes. And so I texted him and I was like, man, I thought to myself, I don't want him to feel left out. I don't want him to see us having dinner with our neighbors tonight and feel left out. So I said, hey, you guys should come over and join us tonight. Long story short, he couldn't. His wife was working, but he said he knew that I love to enjoy a little sip of whiskey once in a while. So he said, I'll come over later tonight. So we're sitting out, and it's like 8:30, and the older couple, they're sitting there. We've been there for a couple of hours, had an amazing dinner, and like really enjoyed our time together. And the guy on the other side comes over, And he was like, "Oh, hey, I've seen you guys a bunch, but I don't think we've ever met." And he introduced himself, and they had to like introduce themselves and tell their names, and he sort of went around the table. And an hour later, everyone's gone, and I was in the kitchen with my wife, and I was like, "Did it shock you that they have lived one house down from each other for probably 10 years and have never met?" And what was possibly equally shocking to me was I expected my wife's response to be like, "I know, right?" And it was like, "No, why would you know somebody on the other side?" And I was like, all right, this is the American way, right? Like, you have to make an effort to go out and knock on your neighbor's doors and bring the community together. Like, you got to be that nucleus. You got to be the weird one. So we were the weird one.
Isn't that crazy? Like, you're the weird one for trying to get to know the people that you live next to for, possibly 10 years, 20 years, 30 years if you never move again.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder why that is. I wonder what has happened to our society to create this. I don't know. Goody, do you have any ideas on it?
Yeah, lots of ideas.
Yeah, you do.
Well, if you think about um, where we are with respect to truth in today's society, right? And this idea of truth in an environment full of fake news and this bipolar or this polarization of everything, literally everything. We cannot agree on these things, and a lot of that is driven by this idea of independence and being, that I live in this world, and in this world is me, like it is about me, right? This is a conversation I'm having every day with the kids at football. I'm like, hey, every time you miss practice, guess who suffers? Your team. You're not important anymore. Every time you miss your block because you lack effort, guess who suffers? Your quarterback suffers because you're not blocking because you don't want to run. You don't deserve to play. It's not about you. Like, I'm having these conversations with kids every single day, and it's interesting because I think we believe so many of these lies in general. The truth is it's just so evasive and doesn't have to be, that we are now, that the actions that we do and the culture that we've created are such that people are not shocked that you don't know someone that lives 2 doors down from you. Like, I can't. And it's interesting because I can also, I'm not surprised by that. In that 10 years, that's pretty excessive. Like, that to me, like, how do you not cross paths at some point in 10 years? Like, I don't understand that. But again, I'm also like, if you happen to be taking the trash out in a 1 block radius at the same time I am, there's a very good chance, like, I'm going to go, like, be like, hey, dude, do you want to talk? You want to be friends? You want to, like, let's talk. Or
Want to be friends with me?
I'll see somebody walking outside my house. Phil, if you're listening, when him and his family walk by, like, I will, if I see them, I will drop what I'm doing and I'll go out. It's funny. We did this kitchen renovation and we took a big hole out of the wall, and now you can see from the kitchen all the way out to the street. I honestly think that appealed to me so much because I was like, man, I just don't want to miss out. What if somebody's out there? Like, what if somebody wants to play? Like, I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss
Dude,
the
he's
opportunity.
like watching through the blinds
Yeah,
from
yeah,
inside his house to
yeah.
see who's walking by.
Like
With
waiting
the
for
lights
somebody to
off
come
so
out to
nobody
like
can
jump out and
see.
give him a hug.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't. You guys were outside too. Oh wow, I didn't even know. But I guess the point is that we have believed so many of these lies that we also believe this fundamental thing that I believe human existence is, that we were born to be in community. And John Mark Comer, we love John Mark Comer. And what I love about him as well is that he's very self-aware. He's like, dude, I'm pegged introvert, like the most introverted dude. And he says, but I acknowledge that I was created for community. I have to fight some of my personality things to be in community. And I love it. Every time I do it, I love it. Right. And so, this idea that we don't need other people is absolutely crazy to me. And that it's not enjoyable is crazy to me. I've had this same conversation probably 4 times this week, where I said, hey, dude, the Kinetic Man is a tribe of men. We come together, we're vulnerable, we're honest, we're a community, right? We're a community. And I told each of these guys, I was like, your wife does not want to be your everything. And she wants to be your wife. She doesn't want to be your wife, your fishing partner, your bowling buddy, and your best friend. Like, yeah, it's super romantic. Hollywood loves, oh, you're my best friend and I love you. And you're, oh, okay, yeah, that's great. Like, go find some dude
you
friends.
Complete me.
Go find some dude friends, right? Like, your wife does not want to be that. She cannot literally be the mother and have her own friends and also be there for you. And they're better at it. The women are better at it than we are. You should not be looking at her. And all the dudes are like, oh yeah, man, that's true. Cause they all expect their wife to be that person for them. Like, I do not. I didn't invite my wife on our hike tomorrow, right? She's not invited. Not because I don't love her, but I don't. There's dude things that, like, there's no women invited to this thing. It's a bunch of dudes. A kinetic man get together, go climb a mountain. That's important. It's powerful, and it's truth, and it's life giving. But because we believe this idea that I don't need dudes in my life to talk about serious things like my marriage and my struggles and my insecurities and my porn addiction and my beating my kids and all these things, right? Because I feel like I can't share those things. Well, I'm just gonna bottle it all up, and it would that dude, don't drop all that on your wife, right? Like, there are other outlets that you should seek, and you can't do it on your own. And by the way, there's probably a bunch of dudes out there that also have significant insecurities, that also are wearing a bunch of masks, that also have a porn addiction, that also beat their kids. And they don't want to be that guy. They don't want to be that guy. And so you surround yourself with a bunch of dudes who want to be better. And guess what happens? You get better, right? You talk about things. Nobody wants to be lonely, dude. Nobody wants to have no friends. Nobody.
Yeah.
And so why do we act like we do? That's a lie. I think it's a lie from hell, dude. I do. I think it's a lie that causes us to be so much less than we can be because we don't have the beauty of those relationships and the beauty of that connection and that community and that tribe.
You know, we talk a lot about, and I think it's cliched, right? That you as a man should lead your family, right? But I think what is not common is men leading their family to friendships, men leading their family to fun, right? I think that we tend to rely on, and this is just anecdotally myself and men around me, right? Like, you tend to rely sort of on the relationships. Once you have kids, the relationships that your wife builds, which are typically correlated with the friends that your kids are hanging out with, right? Versus, because I'll tell you, like, my wife, she allowed me to plan a dinner for Saturday night, but had I left the binary choice in her hands, it probably would have been like, let's just pass on that. Like, let's have a little bit easier night. Even though we both have acknowledged that we want to build more relationships around us and a community around us, like on the street we live on. And so I think that that's something else too. Like, you're, as a man, like, you might have to be the weird one of the people around you, but you also might have to be the weird one in your family, even if you are both introverted, and say, like, all right, let's go. Like, let's see who wants to have dinner together. Let's just make a community. Let's build it.
Dude, it's a great point. I'll tell you that one of the barriers, at least in my household, is the desire to have a cleanly home, right? Everything's clean, everything's put away. There's, kids' toys aren't everywhere. We have to plan in advance and clean the house, to its fullest. And I was recently, I finished this book called Habits of the Household by Justin Whitmer Early. And he talks about hospitality. And that's something that Jesus calls us to do, is be hospitable. And there's a big difference between hospitality and entertaining. Hospitality, like,
Interesting.
you're bringing people into your life, right? And it's real, just like you talked about, David. Like, we're being real. It's being open. It's being vulnerable. Yeah, our house is a mess. We have kids. This is our life. But we're inviting you to come be a part of it, right? That's
and which one is real, right? Like, which
one's
is real,
right?
Right? Like,
We
do you want to know me, or do you want to know my Facebook version of me?
Do you want to know me, or do you want to know my cleanest version where I spent all day long cleaning the house so you could come over and I can give you, gold-plated dishes? Like, that's entertaining.
Dang, gold-plated dishes.
We don't have gold-plated dishes.
Baller.
But, like, there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between hospitality and entertaining. And I think a lot of us just think in this world of entertaining all the time, and that's not real. That's not real life.
Well, dude, and I find it interesting. When you talk about, when you go look for a new house and you ask anybody, what is it? What does everybody say? Oh, I want an open concept.
Open
Because
concept.
why? Because why?
So we can have people over.
So we can have people over. Everybody says that, dude. Like, everybody has this vision, and my wife is so good at calling these things out. Like, I'm like, well, honey, we need a bigger car, like, so that so my parents can fit too when we go on this camping trip. She's like, dude, that's like twice a year. You're gonna buy a car for the 363 days a year, not the 360, not the 2 days of the year that you're gonna need that. But the same is true for a house, right? And she, for us, we do love entertaining. We love hospitality, and we love having people over, and sometimes it's just messy, and it is what it is, but that's not the point. Nobody cares. Everybody's house is messy, dude. If you're at the stage of life that we are, and you have the number of kids we have, and you're bringing those kids over to play, like, they're going to ruin the house anyways. So why clean it? But like, their house looks the same. So just like, is it about that? So I love how you say that, but the idea, the delusion that folks, and it's not a delusion to point out a negative thing. Everybody wants to have this house to have people over. That should tell you immediately where people's hearts are naturally inclined. I want to be around people, but then all the filters get added on top of it. You buy that house, open concept, beautiful. It would be great for entertaining and having people and being social. And you never invite anybody to your house, because all the other filters, all the other lies get stacked on top of that. But you bought this house because one of the primary things you said, everybody says it, even the introverts. Man, I just want this open concept so I can have a bunch of people. And you never invite people. It's all the other lies. And so the intentionality behind it, right? That's what I love. Let's get to the root of the truth. Let's get to the root of the truth, or let's get to the root and let's get to the truth, and then do something about it. Do something about it. Change that just in your own household, in your own world, in your own neighborhood, in your own community. Just change it. Do what Stephen did, right? And Costco, I don't know what dude, they always sell two, man. And you can only cook one. Like,
dude, they come in a double pack, and the other day they were $6 off. That's why
it's crazy.
I got one in the freezer right now. I'm gonna invite some more people over, make some more pulled pork.
Right.
Oof, man, we made that pulled pork into some enchiladas too. Oh, chef's kiss.
Oh, dude. So I'm not gonna lie, I took it, and then I also pan fried it for some carnitas. Yes. Dude, and we bagged it up, took it camping, and we went with some people like, oh, we'll take care of our own food, and they saw us cooking the carnitas up on our little fire, and they're like, hey, maybe next time we'll anyways, not important. But again, the community part of that, right? The camping, we went with other people. Like, the camping's big for us. We love camping, but we've noticed for the kids and for our sanity, it's so much more fun to go with other families. It just is. Like, you get a group of families that go out into the woods. It's amazing. And so, bottom line, what are you intentional? Do you know, like, are you one of those home buyers? I want to buy a house to have people over, and I've never invited anybody over. Do something about that, right? Like, question that. Like, why is that? Why was that important to me when I was looking at this house? Why did that even come out of my mouth? Address those desires, and you know what? Step out. And especially men, like, just step out and be comfortable in your own skin, and just, it's okay. Some guys are going to initially reject you because they're not secure enough in their own manlyhood and manliness to be able to be like, yeah, dude, I want friends too. And you seem like a cool guy. Right. But typically what happens, Stephen, right? Hey, you want to come over? I'd love to come over. Sounds great. Sounds like a lot of fun. Oh, me too. Right. And then just do that. Just do it. Do something about it. Go make a friend. We talk about this all the time. Join a community and be different, be better, be intentional, and look for that community, because it is so much more fulfilling to live in community than it is, by yourself bugging your wife because, she's annoyed that you want to bring every single topic to her. Like, go find a friend
in your own hermetically sealed bubble.
Exactly.
Hey, let's leave this episode with the Kinetic Man Challenge. We gave a Kinetic Man Challenge to our tribe, our members. But here it is. Go talk to your neighbor. Like, if you don't know a neighbor on your street or your cul-de-sac, Go talk to them, introduce yourself, say hello, and then invite them to dinner. Bring a neighbor over. Let's practice some hospitality. It's not
Break some bread.
entertaining. Break some bread. Go take uncommon action.
Seriously, clean your house up because you guys are nasty. Clean your house first. I'm just kidding. Au natural.
I've seen your house.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, men, go be men. Let's not be sideline men. Let's be kinetic men. Do it. Take the challenge. And I challenge you to do something else. Just go to the website. Go to thekineticman.com. Take a look at some of our resources. Take a look at some of our books. Take a look at some of our testimonials. Join our group. Whatever it is, look for it. I encourage you, start there. Look for a community. Start at ours. If our community is not right for you, that's awesome. We'll never know. We don't care. It's great. Find the right community. Go plug in. Do something. Be kinetic man. Be different. Be better. Let's go. Giddy up.
See you.